People and Planet podcast. Today, I'm joined by Josh Rabinowitz, the CEO and co-founder of wearable technology company, Articulate Labs. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be super interesting because we don't talk to too many companies that are in the business of physical therapy and rehabilitation. So it's going to be certainly a unique one, definitely with the technology that you guys have got. So why don't we start then there? Please share with our listeners a little bit more about the problem that you guys solve with the company mission and how you came about to that.
So we came across the problem of access to physical medicine quite literally by accident.
Okay.
My co-founder survived a motorcycle accident that left one leg amputated. One of the indirect outcomes of that situation was him wearing out the cartilage in the knee of his fully intact leg as he was relearning to walk. He was advised to delay surgery. He found physical therapy, especially with a focus on strengthening the musculature around that joint, to be effective for mitigating the pain and the dysfunction he was feeling. But he wasn't able to make it all the physical therapy sessions that he was prescribed because he, had actually just shortly before the accident had closed on a Series A on his first startup. So that was going to keep him busy. So he had work commitments, he had family commitments, and the physical therapy clinic was a half-hour drive each way from home. So he was frustrated with the situation. We started talking with others in the space, started looking a little bit into the space itself, discovered, first of all, tens of millions around the world are in this, in the same space of dealing with degenerative joint conditions, and that the vast majority of the population dealing with these situations, one, don't get prescribed physical therapy, and two, those who do get prescribed physical therapy, only a small percentage of them, about 30%, make it to all their sessions and stay compliant with the home-based regimens. So it was clear, this was a widespread problem, and that it wasn't just an issue of insufficient muscle strengthening. It was a broader issue of access to a type of care.
Interesting. Okay. So what's the solution then? I believe from reading up, this is specifically for knees at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, just for knees at the moment. The underlying technology is extensible to other joints and conditions.
Yeah.
But that technology is at its root neuromuscular electrical stimulation. It's a therapy it's a treatment that's been in use in physical therapy for quite some time as a means to assist the muscle strengthening and retraining process by running current through a muscle in order to force it to contract. We improve upon that technology with integration of motion tracking hardware and our own joint modeling system that we developed that would drive stimulation to occur in synchrony with user movement. So the goal then with this technology, is to integrate physical medicine, and specifically the process of re-strengthening and retraining muscle, into normal everyday activity.
Okay. So what is it, almost like a sock that you would put over your knee, and then?
I actually won't be of use to the podcast audience. Visually, I do have a version of this device, and of course Blur is not working with me here.
I get it. We actually go out on video as well, Josh. So we'll be able to see it. Our listeners will be able to see this. So that makes total sense. In particular, I remember speaking to you previously, and the AI and ML side of this product as well seemed really unique and really interesting. Give us a little bit of an idea of how that works.
Sure. I guess I'll touch on why we needed AI or ML in the first place, which is one thing we discovered trying to, in initial versions of this device, we attempted to pre-program for user gait, and it seems like something that would be normal and predictable and expected, that you kind of kick out one leg, you heel strike, you kick out the other leg, etc. But everyone, healthy people have subtle differences in their gait, and that exacerbates with people who are dealing with complex or chronic musculoskeletal conditions, where there's a tendency to develop compensatory movements as a way to deal with joint pain. So people would, and we saw this in our feasibility study, or see this just walking with people walking down the street. They might drag one leg behind another. They might kind of hitch up one side as they're walking. They might kind of walk peg-legged or goose step. There's all kinds of variations in gait that you can't necessarily anticipate developing from the bench. So what we did instead is develop a system that could intelligently learn from and adapt to user gait, and effectively build a gait cycle of its own to use for the patient. Doing that, having that level of intelligence and adaptability allows the device to to actually stimulate muscle at intended times, or at during intended movements or during intended phases of gait, despite any irregularities. Allows for a very brief period of personalization or calibration to the user, which is necessary for getting buy-in from busy clinicians, and it'll make sure that this device is able to adapt to a wide variety of movements that have not previously been anticipated.
Wow, clever stuff. Like it. So what about yourself then? You stepped into the role of CEO. What about before this? What's your story? What's your background?
It's an odd one. My education's in political theory. I started off in the policy space. I did still enjoy things like policy analysis and creation, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the people or the systems I was working in.
Sure.
I found myself gravitating towards nonprofits. After that, my first role coming out of that was serving as an AmeriCorps member for a college access nonprofit, and that's where I discovered that I actually really enjoyed being dropped into unfamiliar situations and kind of working my way out. I continued to work or consult in the operations and finance space until this company got created, and from there it's been a steady process of working my way up learning curves of engineering and business and medicine, and to some extent leadership. Working with people who've been in this space, finding advisors and mentors. Always finding ways to double check our work as we move forward.
Yeah, excellent. So when did this business start then?
So the company actually incorporated and development started in 2009.
Yeah.
And there was an initial attempt to commercialize back then that was unsuccessful, because at that point there was just no product market fit. At that time there was absolutely no interest in any type of remote or virtual care. Further worse yet, it was viewed as competitive. At that point, everything was, it was 100% fee for service, and our model, the way our device worked, would inevitably take food off of the plate of either of a physical therapist or an orthopedic surgeon. It wasn't, we didn't feel we had a good opportunity to take this to market again until about 2017. We restarted the company then. Now development and testing had continued during that time, but we also kind of retreated to build up, rebuild savings and kind of work on the business plan. But at that point, we were starting to see more at 2017. One, we got into a health tech accelerator that gave us kind of access to the type of people and resources that we were lacking previously. But also we were starting to see a real movement towards value-based care and toward the use of remote or virtual medicine that's only picked up immensely in pace since COVID.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that was going to be my next question, actually, about the actual industry itself. So moving on in terms of how you've seen it develop over time, and you said that when you started right back in 2009, it was almost seen as a competition. As time progresses, now it's seen very much as a solution to a problem. What about since COVID? How have you seen the industry change since then?
Oh, and certainly there's no putting the genie back in the bottle with regards to remote or virtual care.
Mm-hmm.
I think prior to COVID, there was a lot of opposition, especially from like state medical boards, towards any type of telemedicine service. You can look at like the work of Michael Gordon with Teladoc, and the type of battles he had to fight just to have general practitioners be able to take video calls with patients and let them know, and be able to just diagnose, hey, I think you've got a cold. Like that, there is absolutely efforts on the part of regulatory bodies to not just prevent but actively punish people that were taking part in any kind of telemedicine service. Now it's understood that this is a tool to help extend care outside of the clinic. The advent of remote therapeutic monitoring, remote therapeutic monitoring, remote patient monitoring based reimbursement now means that there is an opportunity to actually generate revenue when you're not seeing patients. So it changes how some clinicians, not all, but it changes how some think about how they budget time, how they manage workflow, how they manage the flow of patients through their facility. So that's one big change. I think another thing that's happened post COVID is the acceleration of the inclination of or the and I hasten to say worsening. I don't know what the right phrase is, but the fact that private insurance is squeezing both patients and providers, at least stateside, that clinicians are struggling to make the same amount of profit, make the same amount of revenue as reimbursement either diminishes or minimally doesn't keep up with cost of maintaining a business, and likewise patients are seeing their premiums go up without necessarily experiencing an increase in care delivered. That is forcing both patient and provider to look for solutions outside of insurance. So specifically in the physical medicine and rehabilitation space, you're seeing a lot more self-pay, you're seeing or cash pay solutions. More clinicians are not even bothering with CMS or private insurance. They're going straight to payment. So that's we do see, especially in the physical medicine space, but I think we'll start seeing in other spaces a merging of what's considered medical and what's considered health and wellness. So that it means that our device, our type of technology, I think similar technologies in the future, we will see increasingly move to a direct to consumer model. Especially, it's already sort of happening now beyond self-pay. A lot of companies in our space are selling almost exclusively to systems like the VA or to employer health benefit plans, where there's an opportunity for basically getting a direct purchase without kind of fighting through multiple committees and multiple decision makers, and even getting through that point and still getting rejected by reimbursement. So it's a simpler sale with higher margins. That I think you'll see more and more of that replicated as time goes on.
That's interesting, isn't it? And would you need to have some sort of referral from a qualified healthcare practitioner to purchase one of these?
For our current version of the device, and in the US, yes.
Yeah.
This device is prescription only. The intent for future versions of this device would be to have a level of self-calibration such that a clinician would not necessarily need to be overseeing the setup of the device. So it could be sold direct to consumer. That's not to say that we would cut clinicians out of the loop by any stretch. But it would allow us a lot more flexibility. It would also be a better fit with the rest of the world, where technologies like this, like muscle stimulation, are effectively available over the counter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I suppose, that leads in nicely to what comes next for you guys. Is that very much the plan? Anything exciting that you guys can share with our listeners?
Sure. So a couple things we're working on right now are kind of entrance into additional verticals. So in fact in the next week or so, we'll be starting our first clinical trial in conjunction with the Keller Army Community Hospital at West Point. Their cadets who are recovering from ACL reconstruction will be using our devices, and the goal there is to measure whether we can help these cadets return to duty faster and generally improve military readiness, or the availability of able-bodied soldiers. We see a lot of fit with the military, both with active duty and with veterans that we hope to be able to serve in the near future. We're in the process of working on a memorandum of understanding with NASA. There's interest in this technology, as well as some of the supporting technologies we're looking at to improve kind of the control loop mechanisms for our device. One thing that happens in space within a couple weeks of time spent in zero gravity is you experience significant muscle strength loss, muscle volume loss. People on the astronauts on the International Space Station have to spend 2 to 2.5 hours exercising, trying to maintain their muscle mass. So there's interest in technologies like this being used as a way to treat musculature, or to assist with the re-strengthening, retraining process, and again with the some of the control loop mechanisms we're using for actually determining what's going on with the muscle. Lastly, I'd say there's a lot of interest in applying this in sports medicine, and we've had some opportunity to meet with trainers for professional sports teams in the U.S. Right now the biggest point of feedback there that they've given us has been around usability and data collection, which also we just did a lot of work like that as a result of some of the feedback from our partners at West Point. So we're thinking, hoping that our current version of this device meets those usability and data requirements, and that we might be able to start using these devices to assist professional or amateur athletes recovering from who are dealing with chronic knee conditions or recovering from knee surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what's the kind of the time difference between using this device and not using this device, hopefully in terms of fully fit to be either military ready or sports ready?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest questions we're looking to answer with the trial at West Point. So I don't have a data-backed answer for you at the moment. The closest proxy I could give you was a study we found with a muscle stimulation device that was kind of rigged to work like ours, but it was lab only. Showed a near doubling in strength recovery within 4 weeks of ACL reconstruction. So, based on that, our hope is really that we can cut rehab time in half.
Because you must think about the cost of, I'm thinking sports here, the cost to a sports team of spending tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars on, let's say, a football player, and that football player having an ACL injury that renders them injured all season. But using one of your devices, they could perhaps play half the season. And it's crazy.
It's that's it. The other thing about that we want to analyze and measure is that many people who recover from ACL reconstruction don't actually return to where they were prior to the surgery. So there might be a return to duty or a return to sport, but they just don't have the same level of strength, the same level of explosiveness. Most importantly, there's or not most importantly, there's a fear that can hang around after you had an injury like that. That you
Yes.
don't take this, you don't push yourself in the same ways because you're afraid of injuring the joint again. So I think it's not, our goal there is, it's not just to be able to accelerate the time to return to duty, but also, or return to sport, but also do so, have a full return of quality for those folks. To your point about the value, that's, yeah, it's hard to ignore. We see with people who are injured on the job, and are on workers compensation. It's about $550 per day in cost to the employer, that that person's not working, or is not working at full capacity, and that's for someone who is worth tens of thousands of dollars, not millions or tens of millions. So it's hard not to imagine that there wouldn't be a commensurate increase in scale, being able to address the rehabilitation needs of some of these athletes.
Really, really interesting stuff. And Josh, it'd be great to do a follow-up of this conversation when you've got that data back from West Point, and we can see the feasibility on this. Josh, great to speak to you. Guys, this is Josh Rabinowitz from Articulate Labs. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.